Welcome back to Lenz's Doctor Who Review, episode number 76. Yes, like in the case of what I was planning to Mr. David Camp, this one's also been a couple months in the last review for this one. Well, this one I'm reviewing the final story that was released for season 20 of the show. Which, if you're really curious though, with this one, how many more are left to go for season 20? There is one left. No, seriously, there is one left. And it's a follow-up to, like, the third story of this run. Yeah. So, we're talking about the story of the King's Demons. I'm not sure the cover because the cover decided to spoil who pops up at the end of who actually is able to be the spoiler revealed, like the main recurring Doctor Who character who appears in this very story. So, our story starts out quite weirdly in medieval England, where King John is in this castle. And of course, basically, you watch this first part. It doesn't seem like a Doctor Who story. It feels like we popped into some random British drama, and like challenging the you have the King John's champion, who is a Frenchman, challenging this Lord's son, challenge Lord to a fight with the son steps in. And began their trial by combat with simply a jousting contest. Yes, a jousting contest. And then by pure randomness, the TARDIS shows up. Yep, the TARDIS. They know it's March 4, 1204, I believe it was. Which, of course, is a few months before the signing of Magna Carta. I have read about Magna Carta. Yes. Where it was kind of basically... The best way I've heard it described, it's basically the source of inspiration for the Bill of Rights. That's mostly put exactly what it's there. That's what basically it is. It kind of is it's basically what gave the idea for Thomas Jefferson to write the Bill of Rights. It is a real thing. The real life King John basically didn't want to sign it at first, but he actually broke it. Then of course he had forced signed it once again. And apparently, I don't know if this is really true. At the very day that he's allegedly here at this castle, he's supposed to be over in London, taking the Crusader's Oath. Oh yeah, and by the way, the king proclaims them demons. We also have the king's champion proclaiming the Doctor being Lucifer. Excuse me. Oh, and also the companions this episode is Nyssa and Turlo. Of course, when we first see them, there is a reference to the Black Guardian, because this is the very story that came right after the Black Guardian trilogy. Like, oh, is something really a Black Guardian? No, not really. If I remember this, I think this is the last time I could think of the Black Guardians are mentioned. Like, he's mentioned offhandedly in this start, and that's it. So, then we have a bunch of stuff like, oh, they're taken to a room. Oh, yeah, and it's cold. In March. U.S. is not much where I live. Basically, March basically is pretty warm here, right? I guess because it's UK, because it's close to North Pole, so it's cold, but no snow, but just cold. And Turlo is perfectly fine because he's wearing a suit, while in the case of Nyssa, Tegan, she's not. She puts on this other coat, which does help a little bit. Her legs are freezing cold, so put on like another coat, another rug thing from a bed. And then she's got another warm thing. Oh yeah, journeys for meat. Basically dinner. Then of course the Doctor challenges the champion. By the way, the guy's cousin comes back and goes, oh, this is not the real king, this is an imposter. Like, bring up and of course Turley gets briefly separated. He's taken to the dungeon by the Lord's son, who thinks he's a demon. This is fact he really isn't. And he's in prison there. And then of course where this of course is really weird. Like the queen, the lady of the house is brought there, and and of course bring up the Iron Maiden. Yes, this Iron Maiden, which what this thing is, it is weird. And then of course Doctor is challenged by the King's champion to a fight, and very good battle sequence. I love it. And then it's filled like he takes out the skies, but oh crap, it's the Master. Yep, it is the Master. Yeah, the DVD cover spoiled that. Yeah, they probably should not have mentioned the fact, oh yeah, this is a master story. And by the way, that revelation happens at the end of part 1 of 2. Yes, this one's really, really short. Now, I thought this was basically this was the last two-parter they had in Doctor. Oh no, the very next story, Awakening, that's also two-parter as well. And I'm not counting what happened with Colin Akers, because that's basically 2 hour-long episodes that are simple a two-parter. This is basically 2 half-hour episodes, mostly. If you think about combined-wise, this particular serial is just about 50 minutes. It is really, really short. It's by far the quickest story I've gotten through. Because normally, if it's like a 4-parter, it's like an hour and a half maybe. But this is like 2 parts. So, what is the Master's plan? And like, wait, aren't you trapped in that other planet, basically, with time flight? Yeah, that is very loosely explained of how the heck he survived this. Because, by the way, time flight was the last time it was seen. Which, that was the end of the previous season of the damn show. That's not a joke. That's seriously 100% true. Yeah, it is quite strange. Let me take a look at his. Yeah, Time Flight was definitely his last one. Now well, I'll get to basically his other stuff here, because basically, I actually don't have many stories left to go for him to watch new reviews for. Like, there's like, if you're curious, I have like 4 left. There's one more, which will be the next one we'll discuss here. There's also 2 for 6 Doc, which one I will discuss later, and the final story, which that gets referenced in Power of the Doctor. Yeah, and then of course the Master is, because he's defeated. Oh, let's put him in the Iron Maiden, which turns out to be the Master's TARDIS. Yes, seriously, the Iron Maiden is the Master. By the way, this is the Anthony Ailey version of the Master, which this was his first appearance. Keep it tracking. That was the first time he appeared in the show. This was essentially put his 4th appearance in the show. Because first appearance Keep It Tracking, he appeared in Legopolis, Castlevania, Time Flies. This is very simply his 5th appearance. His next appearance is in the 20th anniversary special, which is, by the way, the very next story that comes right after this one. Isn't that strange? The fact the very next story is the 20th anniversary special, and then comes basically the Awakening, which started the 21st season of the show. Yeah, which actually starts like the very next season. Actually, the Awakening is I think the Awakening is the 2nd story of season 21. Yeah, 2nd story. Yeah, I've already reviewed the 21st one and the Warriors Deep, so I got those out of the way. Yeah, so after basically freeing Turlo from a dungeon, then they free like the cousin who tries to warn London what's going on. Then he gets shot by an arrow. Yes, an arrow. By the way, the Master's back in his normal outfit. Oh yeah, and it's been hinted back that the king is an imposter. And then they reveal toward the end of part 2, in this one scene of what the heck is going on with King John. Who is this imposter? It's a robot named Chameleon that the Master found on the planet he was on. And that's how he escaped. Okay, the story behind Chameleon, from what I've heard about this thing. This was an idea brought to the people of Doctor Who by their showrunner at the time, John Nathan Turner. He really wanted a real live robot in the show, and this was the early 80s, and that was not exactly possible. Here's the strange thing though. They've had robots on Doctor Who before. There was also mentioned in the documentary behind the creation of Chameleon, where they brought up something like, they mentioned K9 and Friends, and there's also mention here about, K9 himself. They want to bring something similar to that, so Apparently, he just some random short he found. They created this robot. Excuse me. And there was plans to use him right after this story, appearing in the Awakening in the lead scene. And then he's not seen again until his last appearance, which is in Planet of Fire. And according to Peter Davidson, he, how should I put this? He had not faith in the damn thing at all. I mean, it looked good. He liked the look of the damn thing, but he didn't trust it at all. He felt, from what he described it, he felt very uncomfortable interacting with basically something that didn't really move at all. So it was like he's interacting with a freaking chair or whatever. That's what he seems like. He seems like he's just very uncomfortable with it. And they got the perspective of, in the documentary, from Perry, which I'm like, really? They don't get the actors play Tegan for this. I thought that was kind of weird, and of course, brought about Planet of Fire, which I'll talk more about what was going on with that when I talk about Planet of Fire, but still. And apparently the best thing, according to Peter Davidson, about the thing is basically his demonstration of how the thing works. Because things talk too fast, and apparently the actor who actually plays King John is very over the top compared to Chameleon, who is very slow moving, and I guess Peter Davis is like, really? This thing is supposed to be about my new companion in the show? Whatever. So, he trying to change history for some stupid reason, and he just drags Chameleon as Tegan to TARDIS. He's brought on board, and on screen, with the exception of the latest scene, not seen again until Planet of Fire. The penultimate story of Peter Davison's run. Yeah. Though I have heard, there was a story I heard also after the story came out that the operator passed away. But apparently, according to the documentary I read, I just saw it here on this DVD. Apparently, he died after Planet of Fire, not after this story. So I'm a bit confused about that. Did he die after this one, or did he die at the Planet of Fire? That was confusing. I don't know when it's. I'm getting two different stories. The whole thing about the guy dying at this, so I got that from S.S. Dupree, and I got the whole thing of him dying at the Planet of Fire. That's in the very documentary on this very DVD. Yes. Also, when they had Nicole Bryant, who plays Perry, this is definitely an older version. This is definitely I don't know if it's the current look for how she looks nowadays, but it looks like she hadn't aged very much at all. Like, she made her debut in the 80s, and she looks like this. Like, wow, she looked like she hadn't hardly aged at all. She looks really good for her age. And if you're really curious about Chameleon, like Nicole Bryant nowadays, if you're really curious, she's 62. And I look at a picture from 2016. She looks like she's aged very little since the 80s. Like, wow. Yeah, she must take very good care of herself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not really much else to say about this. It's an okay story. It's not terrible. It's just that, well, it's not exactly a well-received story when it comes to Doctor Who. Because, from what I can tell, the reception is, it's okay. It feels as though with this one, with the exception of the Chameleon stuff, it feels like what they did with the episode Black Orchid, where it's simply it's basically like a regular historical without the sci-fi stuff. Because here's the strange thing. It's Doctor Who, it's sci-fi, but it's a historical drama. Here's the sci-fi elements you give the whole story. The Doctor's TARDIS, the history compressor, which you don't see it used, the Master's TARDIS, and Chameleon himself. And that's it. like if you take all, it's basically where they kept. It's basically a regular, pure historical, though not a well remembered one. And by the way, the guy who wrote this is Eric. Well, let's see. The guy who wrote this one was Terrence Dudley. The editor was Eric Stewart. Yep. The guy basically was a producer in this one. He was a script editor, replaced by Andrew Carmel, who pretty much basically replaced him for the remainder of the show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In my honest opinion, is this a bad story? No, it's just okay. That's the only thing with it. It's just okay. Yeah, but in the case of Turlo, like it's weird when they bring in the Black Guardian and he's like barely reacting to it, and yet this guy had him under his thumb for 3 stories. He was under his thumb, and he was afraid for his life, and eventually when Black Guardian is supposedly gone, and like he just shrugs it off like it's nothing. I'm like, seriously? Like, that's the one weakness I have for Turlo for this whole story. Also, he does nothing. I mean, Tegan, like, she's there. I mean, her only thing major she does the whole story was throw a knife at the Master, which I thought that was really cool. And that was in character for her to do that because she hates the Master. Because the Master murdered her aunt with his tissue compressor back in Legopolis. That's complete in character for her to do. Aside from that, a lot of time when you see her on this story, she just complains it's cold. And who does all the legwork in this whole story? The Doctor. It's almost like his companions are just there just cuz. I mean, you can watch the story and you can see that Tegan is there for eye candy. Because Tegan at the time, I'm sure that Janet Fielding at the time was a very beautiful woman. I have heard an interview, yes, I've heard an interview with her, that she actually had wanted on Doctor Who for quite a while. And apparently her siblings was actually a big fan of Doctor Who, and she did not mention in this interview now this is something that she posted on her Twitter page, and I really enjoyed this interview. I thought it was really cool for her to do this. And of course, this is the first interview she's done since The Power of the Doctor. Now, I've seen what she looks like nowadays, basically thanks to Power of the Doctor, where aside from the wrinkles, she really hasn't aged all that much at all. Yeah, she's older. Yes, Janet Fielding. She's currently 70. Yeah, 70 years old. But she doesn't look that bad for her age. No, she doesn't. It was nice. Now, in case you're really curious though, how many more stories left to go with her in it for Classic Who? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6 more stories left. But this is the last one I own I have left with her in it that I haven't watched yet. Yeah, this is the last one. Still got about 6 more left, so yeah, I've almost covered almost all of her stories. Yep, almost all of them. Yeah, like I mentioned, only about 6 more stories left overall, and she was featuring 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is only her 15th story, by the way. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You could say 21 with Cave of Everzali, and I'd say about 22 stories overall. And here's what's left for her. For the Doomsday, Conda, Black Orchid, Snake Dance, and Cave of Everzali. And Cave of Everzali. And that's it. Yeah, also the Awakening Frontiers. Basically, when it comes to Season 21, I haven't really covered all that much Season 21 at all. Not really. I've only covered for Season 21, which is by the way the next season, is the opening story and Resurrection of Daleks. That's it. That's all I covered. 2 stories out of 7. Yeah. But in the case Season 20, with this particular story finished, I am now down to one more story left. Snake Dance. And that's it. And when I finish that one, I'm done with season 20, which is awesome. And it's also going to be the first of the first 3 seasons completed for Fifth Doctor. I've watched those already, yes, but here's something also interesting you might find interesting. Of the 26 seasons for Doctor Who, the only Doctor I've actually played more than one season for them is the Third Doctor. Yes, I have finished up his opening season and his last season of the show. I've also got done, basically I got done, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons overall I've gotten done. So overall I have currently 22 seasons left, but in the case of season 20, this is another one that's getting really close because it only has one story left. If there's any more like this, it's possible, but who knows. The final season only got two stories left, but that'll come later on. Yep. So yeah, that's a particular review. Stay tuned for tomorrow for a review from Machuga Tensai and possibly Comic Corner and maybe Doctor Who. Okay? Next video. Bye.